You know how sometimes you can instantly loathe someone just as quickly as you can fall in love? Maybe it's the same chemical reaction in reverse? I work for a chain of big box stores as a mid-level manager. I don't really supervise anyone because my job mostly deals with external contacts. So whatever happens inside the store usually doesn't affect me much. That's why when I started dating Tiffany, one of the sales associates, I didn't really worry about anyone finding out. I wasn't her boss, so there was no big scandal. We weren't exactly flaunting our relationship, but we weren't hiding it either. And in a place where gossip spreads faster than wildfire, especially among the women's team, everyone soon found out anyway. We'd been together for a year and were making wedding plans. Honestly, if Tiffany hadn't told her co-workers in confidence, it might have stayed under wraps a lot longer. But you know how that goes. In confidence to one friend who blabs to another, soon the entire female staff knows. Our relationship was great. We never fought. We had sex almost every night. Tiffany was gorgeous, pretty face, killer figure. She always came into work about an hour before me and left an hour earlier too. Everything was going smoothly until Chase showed up. He got hired for warehouse work, unloading trucks, moving pallets, stocking. At first glance, he looked totally ordinary, average face, athletic build, taller and broader than me, but he was a shameless flirt. Word got around that he tried it on with practically every woman in the store. He'd pick one, charm her for a while, leave with her after work, and then at some point, it'd crash and burn. The woman would cut him off, and he'd move on to the next. This wouldn't have bothered me in the slightest, except for the fact that he took an immediate dislike to me. He'd throw out snide digs whenever he could, often for no reason. They weren't the kind of insults that would make me punch him, but more like stinging little comments in front of others. So I always ended up feeling like a doofus who couldn't think of a witty comeback. You know how it is. Later that night, you replay the conversation and think, damn, I should have said this. That would have shut him up. But it's always too late. He'd see my polished shoes and go, guess the only workout Logan can handle is bending over to buff those loafers. Or if I was fidgeting, he'd crack, dude, if you're that scared about making it to the bathroom, we've got adult diapers on aisle 6. And people would laugh, even Tiffany sometimes. Bastard, I'd just freeze, because trying to argue or get tough with him in front of others would look ridiculous. Eventually, I started avoiding the guy. If I spotted him, I'd take a different route. But it was like he enjoyed cornering me, popping up when I least expected, mocking me under the guise of jokes. Then he found out about Tiffany and me. More than once, I saw him chatting with her when no customers were around, presumably after he'd brought out merchandise. He'd be flirting, and Tiffany was giggling, twisting a strand of hair the way she used to with me. So, that night, I laid everything out for her. How this asshole was basically bullying me with sly jabs, how he had a rep as a player, and I was pretty damn sure he'd set his sights on her. Tiffany, I said, I need you to cut him off. No chatting, no hanging out. Call me paranoid if you want, but he's already screwed half the women in this place, or at least tried. For him, it's like a sport. Ah, babe, she replied, giving me a soft look. I love you. I'm not letting him get anywhere with me. Don't worry, I should have felt better, but I secretly wished she'd promised to just avoid him completely and maybe tell him to fuck off, letting him know she wasn't interested. The next day, I see them out on the main aisle far from her department. He's talking. She's grinning and laughing. I know enough body language from marketing books to notice the signals. Her feet were pointed right at him, shoulders rolled back, chest out. Her hand lightly holding her other wrist, open posture, basically screaming, I like you. They weren't touching, but it made me feel sick. I realized right there that she was no longer mine. Later that day, I saw them chatting in 3 different places, always away from her area, always in that same flirty vibe. They weren't hugging, kissing, or anything explicit, just talking. But it was the way she was talking. Everything about her was basically green light. I tried talking to her again that night, but she flat out lied, said she never spoke with him. I could have told her I saw you or I watched security footage, but it wouldn't do any good. They hadn't actually had sex yet. If I blew up over it, she'd just be more careful. Right? A part of me kept hoping she'd snap out of it. So yeah, I started snooping a little. Sometimes I'd show up at the store an hour early, go to the security room, and say I was monitoring early morning customers for a marketing project, then watch the screens, see if Tiffany was with Chase. Meanwhile, I tried showering her with affection and future plans because maybe, just maybe, she'd resist. Then Saturday came. She didn't come home. I arrived an hour after her shift ended, and she was nowhere. All I got was a text about meeting girlfriends and coming home late. Right then, I knew exactly where she was, even without proof. Then, the proof arrived straight from Chase. He sent me a link to a video stored in his cloud. I watched her completely absorbed in giving him a blowjob. Then Chase turned his phone camera to face himself, smirked into the lens, and flipped me off, making it pretty damn clear he was filming all of this with me in mind. Afterward, the camera panned back to her. I saw him flick her nose gently to grab her attention. She looked up, acting like she was annoyed, but only in that playful way some girls get when they're teased and actually kind of like it. "Hey," I heard him say, "we'll watch this video later and remember the good times. Come on, blow a kiss." She smiled, raised 2 fingers in a V sign, then puckered her lips as if sending a kiss. Even though she probably had no clue her lover planned on sharing this video, it felt like she was putting on a show for me. At that point, everything between her and me was finished. As for them, they kept right on going. And as humiliating as it is to admit, I couldn't tear my eyes away. I ended up watching the whole damn thing to the end. "So, how was that?" he panted. "Am I better than Logan?" "Better," she replied, laughing. "I'm gonna fuck you at work tomorrow before he even shows up." "That's kinda risky," she half protested. So he tapped her cheek and said, "I'll decide when and where we fuck." "Got it? You're my little slut now." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, but also in a weird way, a sense of relief flooded in. There was no doubt anymore. I started packing her stuff into boxes. After about an hour, I drove over to her parents' house, dropped off 3 boxes and a duffel bag of her things at their door, rang the bell, then bolted so they wouldn't see me. Her dad opened it, stared at the pile, and I took off. Back home, I grabbed a bottle of gin, something Tiffany had given me a while back. I was ready to pop it open, but a crazy idea started forming in my mind, because sure as shit, the next day at work, Chase would be waiting to rub my nose in it, probably with an audience of store workers. He'd expect me to be too humiliated to fight back or admit that I got cuckolded. He'd probably show the video around, then I'd be the miserable bastard everyone whispered about. Maybe I'd quit out of shame. But this plan in my head wouldn't let go. So I switched off my phone, disconnected the doorbell, locked up tight, and crammed my ears with makeshift earplugs. I didn't hear a damn thing. Apparently, Tiffany came around banging and screaming outside for an hour, but I slept like a rock. My neighbors later told me she had a total meltdown. I couldn't have cared less where she spent the night. Morning arrived. I parked a block away from work, walked in with a paper bag under my arm, and sure enough, there was Chase near the entrance, surrounded by a few warehouse guys and some of the female staff, all curious how I'd react. I gave them a show. "Hey Chase," I called out, forcing a big smile. "Thanks, man. You really saved me a ton of hassle. Here, take this. Have a drink. You can even share it with my ex if you want." I pulled out that gin bottle. This is from home, so nobody can accuse me of stealing store merchandise. What? He blinked, clearly confused. Yeah, dude. I've wanted to ditch Tiffany for ages. I was feeling guilty, though, because she hadn't given me a reason. But once I realized you were hitting on her, I laid low, worried if I confronted you, you'd back off, and I'd never get rid of her. Thanks to you, I've got the perfect excuse to break it off, so I'm free. I grinned. It's awesome. Thanks for doing all the dirty work. Appreciate it. What the hell are you talking about? He squinted at me. What plan? Seriously? I acted shocked. You didn't guess? Man, I thought you were at least smart enough to see that. I basically turned a blind eye so you'd give me a legit reason to dump her. Everybody wins, except her, I guess. But hey, no one can call me a jerk now. She cheated. I'm done. End of story. I glanced at our onlookers, various sales associates, warehouse guys. Some were snickering, some wide-eyed. Then I spotted a coworker of his, holding a phone with a distinctive case, paused right on that explicit video. Perfect. Oh, hey, I said. Did everyone see that famous little clip? Mind if I take a look? The coworker froze. I snatched the phone from his hand. My fingers were trembling with adrenaline, but I pretended calm. I selected a bunch of files in the video folder, Chase's personal stash, hit send to all contacts, tapped OK, and feigned confusion. Hang on. Oh, crap. Looks like I pressed something by accident. Now let's see. I hit play. Poor Chase. His triumphant moment became an absolute shit show in under a minute. Then it dawned on me. I just blasted every single file from his private folder to all his contacts. Who knows what was in those other videos? But there was no turning back. As the explicit video started playing, people crowded around. Suddenly, half a dozen female employees let out horrified gasps. Wait, you sent that to all his contacts? One of them cried, clutching her phone. That means my husband too? Oh God, another groaned. My husband's in his contacts as well. Within minutes, 5 women were screeching, cussing out both me and Chase. It turned out that in addition to Tiffany's video, the folder included footage of him hooking up with a bunch of other women, married women. Because of his job, Chase had nearly everyone's phone numbers, plus some of their spouses. So, basically, loads of husbands and parents out there were getting a nasty surprise. Even if they didn't personally see it, the rumor mill would handle the rest. I didn't see Tiffany until lunch. She looked pale as a ghost, eyes red from crying. The moment we locked eyes, I could see raw terror there, but it wasn't fear of me, more like what the fuck is happening to my life. People gave her a wide berth, except for a couple of other women who were also in meltdown mode because their husbands had received videos. The next day, Chase didn't show up for work. By lunchtime, word got around that he'd been jumped by some thugs. Really messed up bad. Odds are, once he gets out of the hospital, he won't be coming back. Broken bones can take a long time to heal. Meanwhile, a few sales associates clocked in wearing heavy makeup, but even that couldn't hide the deep sadness on their faces, made even starker by bright eyeshadow under their eyes. Thanks for listening to my story. Feel free to share your thoughts, or maybe how you'd have handled it differently. If you enjoyed listening, hit that like button and subscribe for more cheating stories. Until next time, take care.